Hello! Welcome to Ghost Stories with Anjelah. I feel like if you're listening to the podcast version of this, you're probably thinking like, wow, she gets really excited every time she says hello and welcome. And it's really because I all of a sudden see my face pop up on the screen and it's like I startle myself. And I'm like, hello, oh my God, everybody's looking at me now. Welcome to Ghost Stories with Anjelah. Tonight, my cocktail is a hot toddy in my dog mom cup, in my mug. I went for a hot toddy tonight because my husband likes to blast the AC full blast until I'm freezing. I have like dried up boogers out of my nose, like I'm shivering, and then he's always like, "It's not that bad." Like he doesn't care. He goes, "Put on a sweater." Like that's how he feels about that. So I went for a hot toddy because I'm frozen and I'm trying to defrost my body. I'm using some whiskey. It's called Guidance whiskey, American craftsmanship, small batch. So if that means anything to you, I'm not familiar with whiskey. It was a gift, so hopefully it was a good gift. Cheers. Welcome everybody who's watching on Facebook and YouTube and wherever else you're watching. Thank you so much. We have a great show for you guys tonight. My special guest is awesome. Oh, before we get into my special guest, Ryan, let's pull up the video if we have it. Let me know if we don't have it. Do we have the video? Oh yeah, that's the one. So look at that creepy thing walking in the background, and the baby even notices it and stands up out of her or his little cribby thing, playpen thing, and you can totally see this like orb or being or something like walk by. That is creepy. And the fact they say babies can see stuff because they just came from the spirit realm like a few months ago, and now they've only been in the physical realm for a little while, so they have like heightened senses. Yeah, all the creepiness. What the heck is that? Just, it could be like a reflection in the car that's going by, but a reflection of what? That's the scary part. But yeah, they do say that when you see a baby, like, and you're talking to it, but it's like looking past you and it's like giggling, looking past you. What you think he's looking at? Nothing. He's just giggling to himself. No, he sees something in the spirit realm because he just came from the spirit realm. That's what's happening. That's what I believe. Anywho, we have some great stories tonight. Very excited for you guys to hear this stuff. My good friend is our special guest this week. She's amazing. She's so talented. She is always working on something. She's so successful. Please welcome my friend Fortune Feimster.
Yeah, Anjelah.
Have you ever had that intro? She's so successful.
Special. Thank you, my friend.
I am so honored that you even squeezed us into your busy schedule. You guys, Fortune's in the middle of filming right now. She's like, I'm filming this, I'm filming that. But yes, I got a ghost story to tell you. Oh,
That's right. Well, you always make time for me, and you're a good friend that actually calls and checks on me.
yeah.
A lot of people don't do that, so I will make time for you anytime.
Thanks, friend. I love you dearly. I really do.
I love you.
Fortune, a long time ago, her and I decided that we were going to be texties. And that is best friends who only text.
That's because we were always on the road. You and I were always on tour.
That's all we could do. We could never meet up or anything. But Ryan, pull up that one picture of us with the dog. This is this dog still around? Do you still have this dog?
Yep. She was the one she was barking earlier. I was like, not during the show.
That was one of the only times that we actually met up and went and had like coffee or lunch or something. And it was
That's
like,
right.
Became besties out of the texty realm for a day.
We did. We met up, and then we actually Jackson and I had lunch with you the week the world shut down.
Yes.
We had lunch with you like on a Wednesday because I had a lot of questions. I was picking Anjelah's brain for touring
because I'm Guys, I'm also successful, in case you guys didn't know.
Anjela's very successful, and she's been doing theaters for a long time, and I was finally making the jump to theaters. So y'all were giving us great advice. That was Wednesday. The world shut down like on Friday.
Unreal. And the whole tour
Yeah,
just was like, hey, remember everything I just told you on Wednesday? Just put on hold for a little bit.
yeah.
It's this
Like
weird thing. It's probably gonna go away in a couple months.
we'll be out of this. Let's reschedule for May of 2020. Oh man, how a year and a half later, I'll finally do those shows.
I know. It's been nuts, but I'm so grateful for you being on this show. And I was on your show on Sirius Radio.
Hmm.
And I shared my ghost stories with you on that show. And you were like, hey, I think my house that I grew up in was actually haunted. And
Yeah.
let's jump right in and let's talk about it.
Well, so I feel like when it comes to ghosts, it seems like people are either like susceptible to seeing them or
Uh,
they're not.
yeah.
You either see them or you don't.
Yeah.
And I will keep it real. I've never seen one myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
I definitely feel energy though. I'm a Cancer, so I pick up on energy with people, but I feel like I also keep I feel energy with things like whatever. If I walk into a house, I can feel the energy of that
You
house.
feel
So,
energy in green rooms.
oh yeah, for sure.
Isn't it sometimes just so depressing and like
Yeah.
dark? And I was like, I was fine going on the road, and now all of a sudden I like miss my family a lot, and
Mhm.
like you pick up on that.
For sure. And so I never saw ghosts, but I definitely felt the energy of things. I know if there's a good energy to that, and I know if there's a bad one. If there's a bad one, usually there's in my opinion, some sort of um past thing that happened there,
Yeah.
some, whatever that is. So my mom is very much susceptible to seeing ghosts. And according to her, she's been seeing ghosts her whole life. So before I get to the house that I grew up in, she had told me for years that when she was first married, she ended up staying at my grandmother's house, the house that she grew up in, and she had hurt her knee or something. So my grandmother was helping take care of her, and she woke up one night, and her father, who had died when she was 17, was like standing there,
Oh no.
kind of hovering. She said it was almost like a mist. I called her to like double check these facts because I don't want to be.
Mom, you said it was a mist, right?
It was a mist. I was like, what? I was like, was he floating? She's like, no, he was standing there. And she said he kind of like reached out. I'm like to hold your hand. She's like, it was kind of like he wanted to touch me, and then he kind of like faded away. I was like, okay, sure, mom.
He missed it away.
So then she says the next morning she woke up, she smelled my grandmother making breakfast, and she went downstairs and she was like, you're never gonna believe what happened to me last night. I know it wasn't a dream. And my grandmother like interrupted her and she said, did you see him? And
Uh,
my mom was like, you're talking about my dad? And she goes, yeah. And she goes, how do you know that? And she's like, because he visits me quite often.
well,
And same sort of deal, that kind of like hovering while you almost feel like you're in a dream, but you're not. And my mom is a little fanciful. My grandmother was not. She was keeping it real. So like with my mom, I could easily be like, I don't know, you could be making that up.
you accessorize your story.
Yes. But with my grandmother, I know she is not that type of person.
Yeah.
Uh, so she also said that he visited. There was a place that they used to go on vacation to pretty regularly growing up, when my mom was growing up, and he also appeared to her outside of the window once
Wow.
at that hotel.
What?
So
Okay, so this is at your grandmother's house, right? I wonder what it's your grandfather, right?
it's my grandfather, and he died unexpectedly when
At
my mom was 17.
in the house.
He didn't die in the house. He went to the hospital for like routine surgery. Something was supposed to be
Oh,
no big deal, and he had an aneurysm
oh my God.
during surgery, and so he died. So that sort of unfinished business
Yeah.
kind of feeling.
Yeah.
Didn't get to say goodbye kind of thing. So I feel like there's something with that, but she hasn't seen him since.
Just that one.
May Yeah, maybe it was like some sort of like, I'm just seeing if you're okay. I
Hmm.
did, and now
How old was your mom when that happened?
she when he died, she was 17. When she saw him, she said she was newly married, so that would have been around like 27,
Mhm.
26, 27.
Wow. So yeah, maybe he was just coming back to check
Mhm.
say, "Hey, I'm here. I'm
Hey,
watching."
what's up? I'm a miss.
Yeah, I'm a mist now. I
Yeah,
wonder
so
if your mom thinks about him, like, on misty days, like, where it's, like, overcast when she opens the window and she's like, "Dad?"
"Dad, is that you?" And he floats away. She couldn't even she even remembers what he was wearing. She's like, he had a
Oh.
blue button up with the sleeves rolled up like he always wore. I was like, "Oh, so crazy."
Aw, that's
Um,
incredible.
yeah. So she's always had
Yeah.
that thing. So when I was growing up, we grew up in a house that was built in the late 1800s, and
Wow.
super old house. And I know at one point in history there was a fire in that house. It was a boarding house, and
Oh,
someone did die in that fire.
a boarding
Uh,
house in the 1800s.
yeah, well, the early it was built in the late 1800s, so the boarding house part was probably early,
Yeah, yeah.
1900s, whatever. I
1900.
don't know how I don't know how the fire started. I don't know who died.
I don't
I do know that in my closet, if you kind of poked a hole in the closet, you could see old char.
No way.
Yeah.
They didn't even clean it up. They just
They
said,
didn't clean it up.
"Oh my god."
It was an old ass house. And so growing up, I never felt totally secure in that house. It's hard to describe. Like, I never felt at peace in that house. Like, something always felt off to me.
Mhm.
And I never heard anything, I never saw anything, but I remember even as a little kid, I was always scared to be by myself in my room. I would make my dad, like, stay in my room until I fell asleep, which must have driven him crazy. He'd be, like, trying to crawl out, and I'm like, "Stop! I see you."
I'm still half awake.
And
I'm I'm
my
not in
parents
REM yet.
yeah. My parents could never understand why I was always scared.
Mm.
And I just thought it was like a kid thing, like, I don't know, I'm just a wuss. And when I got older, like, my mom started dating this guy who lived far away, so every weekend she would go stay with him. So in my teenage years, I was always at the house by myself, and I slept with like a knife under my bed
Huh.
because I always there's just this energy there, and I could never put my finger on what it was. And
So you were ready
so
to knife it, whatever it
I,
was.
I was all like, "Don't mess with me.
"I will
I
knock you missed. Don't even try
just doing this. I can't catch you." And so I just kind of chalked it up to like, oh, that was a weird thing to feel that way about my house, but whatever. So I'm talking about years later, I'm like living in LA. I'm a full grown woman, and I say to my mom something like, "Oh, that house, our house always felt weird." And she goes, "Yeah, that was the most haunted house I've ever lived in." I says,
it."
I said, "Excuse me?" She said, "Oh, I never told you that." And I was like, "No." She was like, "I, for years, heard spirits."
Uh-uh.
Yes.
Your
And
mom was like, "Why do you think I left you on the weekends all the time?"
Anjelah, I got so pissed because I was like, "You left me there all the time on the weekends."
Oh
Because
my god.
she like didn't even think, she didn't even like put two and two together. She was just like, "I hated being in that house, and I left as much as I could. I was like, I was there.
You left me in the house as much as you could. Oh my
Ugh. I was
gosh.
so mad at her. So she told me, I said, so what are you talking about? And she said that for years she would be asleep and her bedroom was downstairs and my brothers and I were in the bedrooms upstairs. She said that she would hear somebody walking up or down the stairs. She would because it's a creaky house.
Yeah, 1800s.
Yeah, it's a
Ooh.
creaky house. So she would hear that stepping noise
Mhm.
and she would get up she'd be like, why are the kids, they shouldn't be up. Why are they up? She'd get up. She said we'd all be sound asleep.
Mm, mm.
Or she said she would hear the footsteps upstairs a lot. She said it was either the creaks on the stairs or actual walking around
Yeah.
upstairs. And so she'd again go upstairs. Either she'd be alone and no one was up there, or we would be sound asleep. And she said this went on for years. She's a big stickler about like locking doors.
Mhm.
She'd find doors open.
Mm-mm.
Those doors that she had locked would be wide open or unlocked.
Oh, hey.
And she said she just like she'd call her brother to come like check for you know closets and stuff to see if someone was there because she was hearing so many things at different points. And she said finally she had so had it with this that I don't know, she probably had a couple of margaritas like me right now. Cheers. She said she yelled out to the ghosts that if they didn't stop and leave her alone, that she was calling Duke University's paranormal psych, whatever the department is, the Ghostbusters.
Uh-huh. Duke Ghostbusters.
The smart ones.
Yeah.
She was like, yelling out, being like, "I'm gonna put an end to this." And she said she never heard a peep again after that. And so we ended up selling that house when I was 18, I think.
Mhm.
And the house has new owners probably like every 5 years, 5 to 7 years since. So I've never met anyone that lives in that house, so I don't know, but I have a feeling that they're feeling something or
For
hearing
sure.
something.
Have you ever Googled your address to see the history on it?
I haven't. No.
Maybe let's do that. I
All
want
right.
to find out like what was the fire and all that kind of stuff. Like
Yeah.
that's pretty crazy. We had on a few episodes back the manager of the San Jose Improv. You've played San Jose Improv.
Mhm.
So we had Mr. Williams on, David Williams,
Yeah.
and the San Jose Improv had a big fire there as well. And this was back when it was like vaudeville theater.
Mhm.
And the thing about that, it's when the vaudeville actors couldn't afford to like live anywhere, so they all stayed at the theater. They all slept in the basement green room,
Yeah.
rooms downstairs, and then there was a big fire and they all died.
Oh, that's terrible.
Isn't that crazy?
There
A lot
you
of
do hear
research.
what's that?
They did a lot of research to find out like the story behind.
Like what happened?
Uh-huh.
There are a lot of I would be curious to see if people have done a lot of research on different theaters, because theaters tend to be pretty old, and I feel like there's a lot of people like, oh, this is the theater ghost,
Uh-huh.
and I did a show. Actually, I did a show prepping for my special, in this small town in North Carolina, and there was like this section, the top section of the balcony where nobody was really sitting, and I said some joke, and there was this like bang, this like noise that came from that top section where there was like nobody. And the whole audience, it was like a part of my joke where like it was kind of quieter, so everybody heard it. And I go, "Whoa, what was that?" And I go, "What do you guys have, like a ghost?" And they were like, Yes, actually, we do. I said, what?
Janine.
And apparently, there's like a little girl that is known to.
Wow.
I don't know what happened, but she's known to like be in that balcony because she died at that theater. And I'm like, well, she needs to not mess up my punchlines.
Please, can she at least drop something at the appropriate time? That's crazy because all theaters are haunted. They have the ghost light that they light at the end of the show when it's all empty,
Mhm.
you're walking out, and you ask them like, okay, what is the ghost light? And it's just a tradition. Like it's not really meant for anything. It has like no purpose than other than it's a traditional just ghost light, and you leave the one light bulb on the empty stage, and that's the creepiest thing ever.
That is creepy.
It's super creepy.
Mom, I will say to you real quick, my mom was so excited that I was telling you about this because she gets really into ghost stories
Oh, I love her.
that she texted me just right before the show that she got remarried and it was a very short-lived marriage. But that's for another podcast. She moved into his house with him, and his house was built in the 1850s. And she said that she sensed that there was a ghost there, and she saw this ghost on the stairway twice.
Ooh.
And she told her then short-lived husband that he had a ghost, and she said he got furious because he said there are no ghosts in my house, and he was very mad that she would imply otherwise.
And that was the end of that relationship.
I think he was like, I cannot be with somebody that thinks they're seeing ghosts.
The ghost broke them up. Little did he know that these ghosts were a part of making him crockety, and then your mom had to bounce. I just assumed
That's right.
when she left.
Yeah.
Felicia wants to know, because you feel the energy of places and things. Have you ever felt bad juju that stopped you from entering a space or a room?
I have. It's never stopped me. I usually just plow through, but I will go into a place. Yeah, I will go into a place and just be like, "Ugh, this energy is dark."
Yeah.
And so I just kind of acknowledge the feeling of it.
Yeah.
And but I don't usually stay there very. There's been some comedy clubs that have that too.
Oh, yes.
Whether it's ghost or just bad energy of comics.
Residual energy of whoever was there last week or whatever. I definitely have. I don't know that it's, again, like you, like I don't think it stopped me from entering a room, but I've definitely felt energy and been like, oh man, this feels dark. Or I feel like actual manifestation, like in my body, like my stomach will start to hurt, or like I get real cold and I'm like, oh, like all the sweaters, like all the things.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can't remember a time myself where I've actually like stopped and been like, oh no. One time I shared on the podcast before, one time I walked into a friend's house, and as soon as I walked in, my attention was immediately drawn to this statue that she had. And it gave me all the creepy vibes, and I was like, where did you get that? And I think it was like a gift from a trip or something like that. And I was like, oh, I think you might want to consider getting rid of that. Like it's
interesting.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah.
Anywho, thank you so much for sharing your mother's stories with us. And I think my favorite part of the story is that your mom was so scared of these ghosts that she left you at home to go to her favorite house.
I was just like, woman, what is wrong with you? She's like, it was the most haunted house I have ever lived in. You mean that one I was alone in all the time? Yes, so haunted.
That's the one. Yes. Thank you. I'm glad you remembered. That's the one.
Thank God I couldn't see ghosts. She claims there's a ghost in our place that we have now.
Your place?
And not here in LA. My mom's place back home. And my sister-in-law confirmed that.
Ooh,
They
wow.
both, they're like in that. They go, we didn't want to tell you because it's the room I sleep in.
Of course.
And they said it's in that corner. I said, y'all, please stop.
Of course, it's in your room, your corner where you put all your luggage. Every time you get your counties out, you're like, well, there's a ghost.
Because my mom was like, well, I don't want to say. I go, okay, well, now you got to say. No, I'm not going to. I go, well, you have to tell me now. Okay, well, there is a ghost in this room.
Have a good night. Okay.
Okay, honey. Bye-bye.
Cakes in the morning. Okay.
And then she leaves. I gotta go.
I'm gonna go see my boyfriend.
I gotta go see my boyfriend.
Oh no, that is great. Fortune, I love you so much. Thank you for jumping on. I'm gonna take a couple more callers here. You want to stay on, or you got a jet? I think you had.
I can stay on for I got 10 minutes. So
let's bring on our next guest. Anita Carrera. She's a teacher and a local ghost tour owner in New Braunfels, Texas. She has some good stories to tell us. Welcome, Anita.
Hey, thanks for having me.
I need a Ghostbuster.
Right? I need a drink.
Yes, I need a drink. You got plenty right behind you. Share.
This is the teacher's normal life right here, you know.
That's after hours. I always wondered what my teacher's house looked like, or because when you're young, like elementary school, you don't see your teachers as humans that have lives. They're just like Miss LeBlanc or like Miss Fall or whatever. Like they're just there, your teacher, and I think they live there. Like when I leave school, they'd sleep in their desk.
A little cot.
Yeah, and then when I would get a little bit older, then I'd be like, wonder what is Miss? Is she married? Like, and I start wondering about lives. And little do I know, they have bars, fully stocked bars.
Exactly. Well, I do have lots of stories to tell you, and I've experienced things since I was a young child, even at the schools I teach at. But my story is kind of similar to Fortune's. It's at a house that I grew up in.
Mm-hmm.
I'm originally from Galveston, which is probably the most haunted city in Texas.
It is
crazy haunted. Yes, like back in 1900, there was a hurricane that swept out 12,000 people into the Galveston Bay.
Oh,
it's still like the number one worst national catastrophe, like more than Katrina.
Whoa.
And it's crazy. Like it's just wild. So lots of just energy in that city. But I've had a lot of experiences, but most of them have been really good. But this is probably one of the scariest that I had. When I was about 12 years old, my family moved into a rental home. And it wasn't long that I started to sense someone when I was alone. I would be in my room and I would hear someone walking in the house, door opening, closing, think it was a mom or dad, and no one. I'd look outside, no one.
Were you home alone? Was your mom at her boyfriend's house?
No. Oh my mom would go to hell, y'all. My dad's a minister.
Woman, if you leave this house, you're going to hell.
She was chained to her bed until he returned home. No, I mean, it's my mom. She worked odd jobs. My dad worked here and there, but I was just kind of alone here and there. I was the youngest of 5, so anyway, I would just kind of hear footsteps. I would feel like I was not alone in my room. I would hear someone in my room. I would see shadows often. And I remember coming home one day and walking past my parents' room, and I saw my dad sitting on his bed, which, big deal. He looked kind of sad. And as I turned the corner into the living room, I noticed my father was on the couch, and I thought, oh, you were just in your room. Like, how did you, he's like, what did you see? And I'm like, oh my gosh, it wasn't you. And I got to thinking it was a heavier set man. And I thought it was my father because he was bald. And my dad's like, let's go check it out. And so we go to the room, and where I saw the man sitting, because my mom, being the Mexican woman she is, the bed's made every day. And you can see an indentation where this man had sat.
Oh, no.
Big butt. Yeah. Big butt ghost. And
he's a big fatty ghost.
He was a big guy. And my dad's like, And I was like, oh my gosh. And it's weird because how the mind works. Cause he's like, think about it. And I was like, oh my, that wasn't you. And I remember he looked really sad. And my
Mm.
dad said, have you seen anything else? And I started thinking, and I started explaining, I hadn't seen anything, just shadows and feeling like, someone in the house. My dad says, have you seen a little girl? And I said, a girl? No. And he says, and we both have that thing where we see things. He says, well, I kept seeing a young girl, and she looks too young to get married because she's all in white, but I don't know. Just let me know if you see her. Now, we say nothing to my mom because she would get her women's ministries group to, like, get the oil, the aceite,
Right.
and, bless the house, and she goes crazy. So we don't say anything to her, but I don't see anything. Days go by, and I find myself alone in the house doing a report on my typewriter. I don't know if y'all know what that is. Y'all
Never
and
heard of it.
no? Okay. So then you probably never heard of the encyclopedias then, right? My
What?
brother kept the encyclopedias in his room. I was like, he was an idiot. And he kept them in his room. And I remember typing my report alone at the house. And I walked in his room to get one. I pull one off the shelf and I go back. And as I'm typing, I hear this like ta-tunk. I'm like, what's that? And I go back in the room, lights on, and I see a couple encyclopedias on the floor.
Mm-mm.
And I was like, oh, well, it just fell. So I shove them back in. I go back to my, table and I'm typing and I hear it again. Bump, bump, bump.
Oh, no.
And this time there's like 3 encyclopedias on the ground.
Mm-mm.
And at that point I feel a little unnerved. And so I put them back in there and I, for some reason, just get this bold energy. Remember my father saying like, nothing can harm you. Yeah, you're fine. And so I said, go away, leave me alone. And I start typing and you hear this boom, 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 boom. I go in the room and they're all on the floor.
Shut up.
No. And I was like, I rebuke you in the name of Jesus. And yeah.
You got a stubborn ghost.
Oh, it was very angry. And I left the house quickly and calmly, went to my neighbors until my mom and dad returned from church, told my dad, not my mom. And he's like, okay, this is not good. Like, you did the right thing. So I remember the next day, my dad talked to my mom. The house next to us looked very similar. They were built in the 50s, just little tiny 3-bedroom homes. And this little old lady named Miss Butler, she had lost her legs to the diabetes. And my mom had kind of befriended her and was taking care of her. And my dad says, hey, Louisa, when you're there, ask her, about the people who lived here before. And Miss Butler basically says, oh, I remember that couple built with me and my Walter in the 50s. And it was just so sad what happened. My mom says, what happened? And she said, well, the little girl had a young little girl named Mary, and on her day of communion, her first communion, they went and did the services, and on the way back, a drunk driver hit the car. The mom and the girl died instantly. And immediately I'm seeing the girl in the wedding dress. That's who my dad's seeing. And then she says, and that poor dad, he shot himself. Which room is y'all's master bedroom?
Oh.
Yes.
Man.
So it just kind of unfolded right before our eyes.
I just got the chills in my legs.
And it was just, that's all we needed to hear. And then we told my mom, and she was like, oh no, that's enough. And we moved very shortly after that. But definitely just very unsettling. Like I said, I've had lots of experiences, but that was very stubborn. He was very angry, I think, obviously very angry and sad when he took his life. And, it just didn't make any sense. And just for her to confirm something like that without knowledge is unsettling.
That is crazy. When you said all the encyclopedias, yo, I would have felt like I was under attack in the other all like duck and cover, run, stop, drop, roll. I don't know what, but let's get out of here.
I just kind of felt like if I ran that it would know that I was scared. I just didn't want that to know the spirit. And I just kind of like, okay. And yeah. But I got my rebuke you in the name of Jesus in there, like my mama told me. So
yeah,
for sure.
Did it work or did he laugh?
If I was a ghost, I would also be angry that I was still fat. Because that ain't fair to have to carry that into the afterlife.
Right? But they say like when you die, like the clothes you're in, you die in. So I guess that was his like suit that I saw him in, and But I think there should be like a weight loss plan for ghosts, like something.
Yeah, what do you do at that point? Like it's not like you're taking in too many calories. You're stuck. That's who you are.
Man,
Exactly.
that would be that's so tragic to like have that tragedy happen and then be like also stuck in that just
Mhm.
purgatory of angriness
And he could have been like, all right, Monday. I'm gonna start my diet Monday.
yeah. Monday I'm gonna finally open up one of these encyclopedias. I'm gonna
Uh-huh.
learn some things.
Mhm.
You've probably seen my mom cooking all her Mexican food and just kind of like,
I wonder if they were Mexican, the family before you.
I don't think so.
I
And
hope.
then do you guys think that like when you hear the stories of like I know y'all moved, but when you hear stories of like oh, and then you never heard from that ghost again, that they do you think they eventually find their way to somewhere else?
I would hope so. I feel like he needs closure,
Yeah.
just a very angry spirit. And,
Mhm.
it's almost like just like a record player, just keeps happening and happening. But
Yeah.
That sucks. I hope I cross over. I hope I cross all the way over.
All the
right.
way. Oh yeah, you don't want to be in that in between stuff.
Although I did tell
Although I'd like to haunt my school. I think that would be kind of cool, just for a little bit.
I told my husband that if I die, that if he dates right away, right after me, I swear to God, I'm gonna be haunting him. I'm like
Right.
be in the bed with your new boo, and you're gonna feel this
Mhm.
cold hand just come up behind you. Just know that's me.
That's right. You better be sad about me for at least 2 to 3 years.
If you ain't depressed, if you don't go into a deep depression for like a year, I'm pissed. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Care nothing about your mental health.
Preach.
For me.
Yes.
His new girlfriend's like, all my underwear keeps getting cut in half.
Mhm. Yeah. Yes. That's me. Uh-huh.
He's like, what's that
Um,
extra hand I feel?
Anita, we have time for another quick one before we go to the next guest. Give us one more quick one because I know you got a lot.
Oh, yeah, I do. You know what? I can tell you like a ghost story about my town that I live in, New Braunfels.
Okay.
So we actually had a serial axe murder here
Oh,
in our town.
yeah.
Yes. So back in 1874, there was a little girl that was basically murdered in her bed. She was the mayor's child.
Rude.
And right. And it didn't make sense. And so we discovered that their guest was staying in her room. And this girl, her name is Johanna, her husband jumped through the window, got his axe, and started hacking at this poor little girl, realizes who he's killed, goes to hack his wife when the little girl's brother comes in and kind of just unfoils it all. The little brother sees his sister like in a pool of blood and bits and pieces. The man jumps off out of the window, and it didn't make any sense. They end up capturing the guy, putting him on trial. And like, why would you murder this little child? He says, well, I was trying to murder my wife. I told my wife when you were staying there to sleep on the trundle on the floor. And of course, the little girl decides to say, hey, you're my guest, sleep on my bed. So after, this is 1874, no electricity going from the light of the moon coming through your window. And he just started hacking away. And his wife actually ended up surviving, being blinded the rest of her life. But they end up,
What?
they sentenced him to death. But he ended up getting shot by her dad, who was the mayor. Because, he's like, hey, but it was just, he died of a broken heart. But she's who he called. Oh, I need to tell you why he killed her. Why did he kill his wife?
Yeah,
So they were just married for 2 weeks. She was like not even 19 years old.
2 weeks.
Yeah,
That's
right.
not even enough time to annoy each other.
Hello. Like, exactly. So she was new from Germany. A lot of people were moving here in the 1800s, and apparently she was married before, didn't tell him, had inherited this large amount of money from her husband that passed away, moved here to start a new life. So her husband finds out they're a sister and decides, I'm going to kill her, marry the sister, inherit the money.
Oh,
What?
no.
Yes. So, but the little girl, her name is Emma, and we call her our Comal Town ghost. And where she died, there's a little private Catholic school there. And so the kids, it's featured on my ghost tour downtown New Braunfels. But
A little private
the kids,
school.
it's a private school, St. Peter and Paul church school, a little Catholic church. And the kids have taken my tour. I've had the teachers take my tour, and they say that they'll see a little girl in a white gown, and she's just kind of pirouetting and jumping around, and she locks herself in the bathroom. And the kids say, there's a kid without their uniform on, and because they're pretty, strict about the rules, and they'll unlock the bathroom door, and There's no one there. But
Wow.
she haunts anywhere from where she was murdered, just basically to where she was buried, where the procession of her funeral
Nice.
went. Yeah,
Wow.
she's just. My honest thing is, I don't think she realized she died. Like she was this
Yeah.
little
Aw.
10-year-old thing. I mean, he just like whacked her, but he ended up before he died, revealing that he'd killed other people as well, and showed them where he buried them. So we had like a real serial axe murder.
Yeah.
Dang, man.
Dang.
Crazy people been around
Dang.
for a long time. I'm telling you.
I
Right.
know.
New thing. The ID channel ain't new. They've been having crazy stories like this since the 1800s. That is nuts. Thank you so much for sharing all of these stories with us, Anita. And I feel like you have so many more, and I would love to have you back on to
I
share.
would love to come on. Yes, girl. Oh, it's so nice meeting you and
Where-
Fortune.
Tell her
It
all
is-
the things.
Yes. Tell her all the things.
Girl power, not worthy.
Anita, it's so nice to meet you. And I think next time you need to take us on your ghost tour.
I will for 50% off.
Yeah,
There you go.
better make your dollar.
Yeah, make your money.
Poor teacher. Hello.
You're like, I know you and Anjelah tour. You can pay.
That's what I'm saying.
I'll bring the drinks.
There you go.
That's a deal. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. Have a good
Bye.
night.
Bye.
Fortune, thank you so much for joining us tonight. This was so fun.
Listen, bud, I like a good ghost story. Those were some good ones.
Watch next episode, and it's going to be featuring Fortune's mom.
You won't be able to get her to shut up. She's like, I love talking about ghosts.
I love it. Thank you so much for joining us. I love you dearly. And tell everybody where they can find you and what your movie that just came out, everything. Tell them.
You can find me I'm on the Instagram a lot at Fortune Feimster. And I'm going on tour in the fall, hopefully, if you like comedy. And yeah, I'm in a movie called Yes Day. It's a fun family movie. And I have a little part in a movie called Barb and Star that just came out. So check those out, y'all. And our Sirius XM radio show every morning, channel 93.
That's right. And then you're on the Keenan show too, right?
On the Tuesday nights. I'm in like every other episode or so.
Is there a show you're not on currently?
Oh, what am I not on? Girls Gone Wild.
I love you so much. I love you, Max. Please give her my love.
Love you. I'm sorry to miss the last story.
No worries.
But you guys are awesome.
You're the best.
Bye, bud.
Okay, you guys, we're going to jump into our next guest because we're almost running out of time here. This is a married couple, Araceli and Matthias Banks, and they have all kind of stuff that's been happening in their house, and they are going to come and talk to us about it. Please welcome Araceli and Matthias.
Hi, Anjelah.
Oh, hi. Where are you at again? Where's your location?
We're in New Mexico.
In New Mexico. I love doing shows in New Mexico. Last time I did the casino. Where's that casino at? What's a big casino in New Mexico?
Sandia? Albuquerque?
Albuquerque, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so I was Albuquerque. I did a casino there. And it wasn't haunted per se, but a lot of my merchandise did get stolen that day.
Mm.
So the ghosts were thieves.
Well, we don't live in northern New Mexico. We live in southern, where we're not so ghetto down there. Sorry.
Okay, I won't hold it against you. I was going to ask you for my merchandise, but okay.
Well, I'm sorry that happened to you.
Let's talk about what's going on in your house. Is it the house that you're living in now?
Yeah, actually, it's my condo. I lived there a year before I met Matthias, and then he moved in, and we had all sorts of crazy stuff happening. And I didn't know that I was getting involved with someone who had a history, and I had never had any experiences before. So I thought maybe before I jump into it, can I just say something? My niece, she wanted to be part of the show, so she made me my drink tonight, and she's calling it Dance Cherry. And it's really a Shirley Temple, but it's very cherry.
Cheers to your niece.
Cheers. Thank you.
Cheers.
Okay, so I'll let Matthias jump into it first.
Go, Matthias.
All right. So this isn't with the video that you have. This is just a story that I have from when I lived in Austin, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
I lived there with my two aunts. They're both nurses.
Okay.
And it was like on a Saturday night in the summertime. And one of my aunts, she was working a graveyard shift.
Mm-hmm.
So we were upstairs chatting, I think in my room on my bed, me and my aunt, and my other aunt left. So we heard the door close, the car leave, and we're in there laughing. And then all of a sudden, we heard the door open
Mm-mm.
and we heard running up the stairs. Well, what got us is my aunt doesn't run.
Right.
So these stairs, I mean, you could hear the footsteps just running up the stairs.
Uh-huh.
And right as soon as it would have got to the top stair, the door in the room that we were in slammed shut and all the lights went out.
Hell no.
So we're on the bed and we're just screaming, and we didn't understand what was going on. And then downstairs, you could just hear all the cabinets just opening and just shutting, just
Hell
slamming.
no.
Yeah, I'm sorry?
How old are you at this point?
I was about 19 years old.
Oh, so you're a full-grown adult screaming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hugging my aunt.
Oh my God. And they're probably like telling you, go do it. Like, cause
yeah, she's like, go. I'm like, no, you're older. So, just to give you a little background about that, ever since then, since I could remember, I've always experienced little things like that.
Uh-huh.
And then that takes me back to the video you have where I was just one day just getting ready for church and I was listening to my music and I looked over and I just see my suit doing its thing and I'm like, what? There you go. And see, there's no air conditioner vent near that. That's like in the hallway right there going into the bathroom.
And it's just like going left and right.
Yeah.
But can we talk about jams for a second? Hey. Yeah. I need you to tag me in that playlist, though. I need you to over.
And that's how I was over there just getting dressed. Like, hey, Christians need love too.
That's what I'm saying. And then so your suit just starts going left and right. Just
yeah, it just starts moving, and I'm like, man, I didn't understand how it could. And I even looked up to make sure there was no vent, and it was just moving. And
we try to recreate that, and I don't know if you noticed, but the whole suit is pink. Okay, so you can imagine, like this guy. I don't know what it is. I tell him you attract something because they follow you. I don't know if it's the way you dress, the colors you like. I don't know. Anyway.
Showing up that pink suit. Was it Easter Sunday? Were you like,
no, it was Mother's Day.
Oh, there you go.
Preaching on Mother's Day, and it was the suit for it.
I like it. I appreciate that. That's nuts.
Yeah.
Did you feel anything else in that condo?
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to jump right to it. I'm going to give you all the good stuff. I'm not going to waste time. So he moves in, stuff starts happening. I start getting scared. I feel like in my house, claustrophobic. Then little things started happening, but things that you could explain away, right? Like, oh, maybe that was a dish I didn't set right in the sink, or
right.
Oh, the house making noise. But inside, I knew there was something wrong because we had been living there. Well, I had lived there alone for a whole year by myself. I didn't even have a TV. So I'm thinking, what are all these sounds? And then as soon as you open the door to the condo, you would feel like you would feel like claustrophobic, like there was just eyes and bodies, like if you're walking through a crowded room.
Ooh.
Yeah, it was ugly. So then the thing that happened was one day, I mean, like I said, there was stuff happening. One of the main things that happened is the Christian music would start just in the middle of the night, start blasting from his computer in our spare room. So it's a 2-bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it would wake us up and freak us out. And I would be so scared. I couldn't get out of bed. I would be like, go turn it off. But that computer, it goes to sleep. You could turn it off, but it would like light up. And he told me that the only way that it would turn on is if you move the mouse.
Right.
So when you'd be like walking by to the kitchen, you would see it in the corner of your eye. And it'd be like, okay, that's weird. But, like I said, it was one of those things we try to explain away, but it was like the feeling of being in that house and everything. It was to the point where it was affecting me at work, where I couldn't like focus. I wasn't sleeping. But one day that we would on Saturdays, on the weekends, we try and stay out of the house. And so we went to play golf, and we get back and we walk into the door, and there's color pencils all over the floor that I had in a container from work.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, how did this get on the floor? And it's just me and him living there, right? So then I realized he sees it, and he's like, oh, well, maybe you dropped them, or maybe they fell off the table. And I was like, no, I had them in the box. They were sitting on the table. Well, I tell him, oh my gosh, do you see what it says? And he says, no, what? It's just color pencil. It says hi. It spells hi, like literally pencils are spelling the word hi.
Oh.
It was weird. And he says, well, so then we're trying to think, okay, did you change the locks when you moved in? Is there anybody that has a key? Could somebody be playing a joke on you? No.
Right.
So there's that. Then, this happened over a course of like 3 or 4 months. So then, what else happened? Oh, I have like the thing here that I wanted to make sure I made a note of. Okay. So then I think like a couple, either weeks or days later, we were in bed, and, we're a couple making out, cuddling up.
Get it, Queen. Get it.
Yeah. So I had my eyes closed because I was too afraid to see anything. And I've always been like that, afraid of the dark. And I don't know what made me think to open my eyes, but the room's not completely dark. You can see light from, the TV, your phone.
It's mood.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a mood, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you can see shadow, right? We could see each other as like a shadow. It wasn't super dark. But like from the corner of my eyes, or like from my peripheral, I just see suddenly like these shadows, like people leaning into our bed and just staring in at us.
Pervy ghost.
And I know. And I freaked out because that was the first time I'd ever seen anything. And I jumped off because I was on top. I was hugging Matthias. And I said, turn the light on. And so I said, do you see it? And he says, yes. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So he jumps up and
I jump up, turn the light on with one hand, caramel in the other hand.
You better. All feathers flew. It was a mess.
Let him tell it. He'll add to the story.
Right.
So, okay. So that happened. That was it. I mean, this is after, not sleeping and all of that. We had the lights on. I'm crying. I'm like, what do we do? I don't know what to do. I'm afraid. I don't even want to tell it to leave. I don't even want to pray. I don't want to tell my family because they're going to get on my case, because they're going to be like, you're Christian. You grew up knowing to pray.
Why would you go? See,
exactly.
See, you brought the ghost because you made out. The old religious parents be like, see, if you keep your legs closed, no ghosts come. Open, ghosts come out. So your own fault.
Yes. You're living together and you're not married. That's why you're going through all of that. Yeah, exactly. So, so I told him, can you pray for the house? I'm too scared. Like, what if it gets worse? And so he says, okay, well, I'll just call my aunt. And in the middle of this conversation, we literally hear, like, I'm not kidding you, a siren go off. It's like, like right above our heads. And I'm like, there's no window. There's nothing around our condo that a car couldn't drive up and make that sound. And it literally sounded like it was moving from within the room, right?
One end of the room to the next. And like when it got over our head, it just went dead silent.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
yes. So, okay, now we're jumping a couple of days later. So he tells me, well, the next day he tells me, I called my aunt. And I don't know why you thought to call her. I guess because she's had experiences in her house.
We always tease my aunt because ever since I guess we were little, we went to see her in Odessa, Texas, and it was on Halloween. And it was late at night when we got there, and we're all banging on the door in our costumes and stuff. And she opens the door, and her eyes were like burning like bright red. And we're like, oh my gosh, how did you do that? And she turned around and turned back, and like they weren't red.
Oh, so she into some stuff.
So we always kind of tease her like, okay, you're like a witch or something, And it seemed like every time things would happen, I was like staying at her house or with her or stuff like that.
Wow.
So I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna call my aunt and I'll talk to her about it. And so I called her and stuff, and she's just like,
remember how you make your eyes do that red thing? So like. What's that thing you're on? Can you come get it out of my house?
Yeah,
exactly.
Turn that on again because we need that.
Oh my God. So what did she
Definitely.
tell you? Did she come and help you? Did she get it
So
out?
I called her and I told her, I was like, hey, so this is happening. And she's like, okay, well, don't acknowledge them and I'll pray for you. And she's like, and they'll be gone.
Don't acknowledge. How
Yeah, like if if they're there, don't be like, oh, do you hear that? Do you see that? Like
Yeah.
just keep on going. Like
Okay. But I
And
mean,
it's weird. Go
in-
ahead.
intimate setting, and then you both see it. Of course, you have to acknowledge it.
Yeah.
Creepy.
And I tell you, it already felt like that. It just was confirmation that our house was crowded with people, I guess. And the feeling I got was like it was just crowded and they were just in there. And so we always had something playing, like the TV or the radio, or because we just or music, because we just wanted to drown it out, right? And so anyway, so he tells me this and I'm like, okay, that's weird. I don't know what she's gonna pray for or what, but okay, yeah, whatever. So then over a course of like 2 days, I noticed like it felt like the calm before the storm, right? It felt really weird because it was quiet. It felt calm, but I felt like it was like waiting, like there was something. And I remember telling him, like, do you think it's gone? And he's like, I don't know. And so our code word for getting out of the house and let's talk about it, because we never felt comfortable talking in the house thinking like it could hear us. I don't know. It's weird.
God, I love this.
Yeah. I mean, it's weird. Okay. So
Babe,
we're
pineapples.
Yeah.
Pineapples.
It was, let's go get an ice cream. You want an ice cream? Let's go get an ice cream. Yeah.
Oh my.
So anyway, so then we get to the couple days later. Okay, so this was the worst thing that happened for me, I guess. So we go, it was another Saturday, staying out of the house, don't want to hear anything, don't want to see anything. We go watch a movie, and we go to back-to-back movies that day. And I mean, I don't know if anybody's ever done that. I've never done that before. That's the first time I'd ever gone and seen like 3 movies in a row in one day. It was weird. So we go home. I know it was
this haunted house.
Yeah, we don't want to be there. Yeah. Anything to not be in the house.
Wow.
So in between one of the movies, we run home because I was cold. I needed to run in and get a hoodie. So he takes me home. I literally took like a minute to run in, grab the hoodie, and run out. So we go to the movie. We come home at the end of the night. I'm like, I don't want to use the restroom at the theater. Let's just get home. We're in a rush. So I run in the door, go into the first bathroom by the door. He goes to the restroom in the bedroom. So I'm in the restroom. I think I was probably in there maybe like, I don't know, 3 minutes. And then I come out and I hear him laughing. And I'm like, what's going on? And he's like, come over here. He says, so he meets me at the door of the bedroom. And I'm like, what's going on? He's like, tell me you're not playing a prank on me. Tell me you're playing. Tell me the truth. What did you do today? And I said, nothing. I literally came in, I grabbed my hoodie and I ran out because we wanted to catch the next movie. And he says, no, you did something. Just be honest. It's okay. I won't be mad. And he's laughing, right? And I'm thinking, okay, something's really wrong, because he laughs for everything. When he's nervous, when he's angry, when he's sad, when he's happy. Yeah. And I'm like, there's something wrong here. And so I start freaking out. I'm like, oh no, like I just felt this in my stomach, like something's wrong. And he says, okay, well, don't get scared then, because before you come in the room, just be prepared. I'm like, okay.
Hell no.
So I walk in the room, Anjelah, and all my mirrors, including the bathroom, have these like white squiggly lines, top to bottom, just drawn all over them like that. Like someone just went like this. And they're like in rows like that. And they're not like even. It just looks like somebody went in there and drew all over the mirrors. And I'm like, every mirror, and I had a lot of mirrors. I have a mirror in the closet, one in the bathroom, a vanity in the bedroom.
What is it?
Yes.
Eyeliner? Is it what? What is how they
Okay. So this is the funny part. So we're like, well, what is it? Right? So I'm like, you touch it. He's like, no, you touch it. I'm like, no, I'm not touching that.
Trying to pawn it off to somebody else.
Yeah, I'm like, smell it.
I'm like, no, you smell it. So we both smell it. We can't figure it out.
And then I'm like, taste it.
And I'm like, no, you taste it. But you know what? I was the dumb one. I tasted it.
What?
Yes, I just had to know. I had to know, what is this stuff?
What
it was deodorant.
Demonic,
yeah,
like super demonic. What is it? Very like evil. Hold on, let me put it in. Let me ingest the evil 1 second. Hold on. What were you thinking you were gonna like?
I don't know.
It's toothpaste. It is.
It's crazy because I was scared. Like, what was I thinking? Don't ask me. I don't know.
What did it taste like?
It was deodorant.
Oh.
Yeah, so we're looking for the deodorant. I'm like, well, where is the deodorant that they use? We couldn't find it. I looked everywhere. We couldn't find it. I was like, somebody used deodorant. Anjelah, nobody had a key to my house. How did they do this? So, of course, I'm crying. I'm hysterical. But you know what? That was the last thing that happened. And then my story's almost over. I don't know if you have time to hear this. There's something that he doesn't know. And I thought I'd save it for this.
Ooh.
That happened.
Secret.
You want to know that?
Secretos. Let's hear it.
Okay. So a year later, I was making waffles in the morning, and he never sleeps in, but I just so happened to have, I guess, a good morning. I woke up early, started making waffles. It was probably a Saturday, I bet. And I see this paper from the kitchen in the room where I tell you the computer is.
Mhm.
I see a paper on the floor, and it's cut into 4s. And I'm like, well, that's weird. It looked like it was upside down. So I go and I pick it up, and it is cut into 4 pieces. I turn it over, and it's a flyer that he had designed for, I think, you had designed for like a church function or something like that. And it had, I don't know if you remember this. It had a cross and it had Jesus's face on it.
I don't remember.
You don't remember it? Anyway, you did it as like a favor.
It was
What happened?
It was his Mother's Day sermon. It was.
No.
Yeah, maybe. Well, no, this was a year later. So,
Okay.
but yeah, it was weird. It was something he had done for a friend as a favor,
Mhm.
but it was torn into 4 pieces. And it was weird because it was torn on Jesus's. It was weird because it wasn't straight. It was crooked. But it looked like it was purposely torn on Jesus's face on the flyer. It was face down on the floor.
Mm.
And I was like, I didn't say anything. I just threw it away. But in my mind, I was thinking, okay, Matthias wouldn't do this. Where are the scissors? What was used? It looked like somebody tore it and had it. And it was the only thing on the floor in the middle of the room. And I saw it from the corner of my eye when I was in the kitchen. I thought, I got to go see what that is. So
Yeah.
Anjelah, I don't know what it was, but that was the last thing that had happened where it was like real, where it felt real.
Did you
But
taste?
no, I didn't. I threw it away.
You didn't chew
This
on it?
time I threw it away.
Like, nah, it tastes recycled. It's recycled paper. No.
Yeah.
Oh.
No. So that was what was going on. And we had, like I said, that didn't start until he moved in. And there was, sounds, feelings, all that.
It's Matthias. It's him. It's your.
I believe it is.
I brought him with me from Austin, and they just keep them in my luggage. And
well,
I'm like,
somebody
let's
on
roll.
here said it could be a portal. I think, was that you, Denise Kennedy? You said a portal. Yeah, that maybe your house was a portal. Have you heard of portals?
Yeah. And I think at the time, people that we had shared our story with, I mean, this is crazy, but I even told my boss because I was, like I said, I was losing my mind. I don't know if you ever saw that movie Insidious, where the dad goes to school.
Yeah.
Did you ever see that movie?
Yeah.
But the part where the dad's at school and his family is at home and he falls asleep on the desk grading papers and he doesn't go home and all that crazy stuff starts happening.
Yeah.
Like that was me at work. I worked in a creepy old building and people would say it was haunted. I'm like, oh no, this place is not haunted. Go stay in my house. I'd rather sleep here by myself at night. Yes, I would fall asleep at work because I was so tired and scared to go home.
Did you say that you are still living in the same place?
Yes.
Honey. And so it doesn't happen anymore?
No, it wasn't. I don't know what happened, what changed.
You close your legs.
But we thought.
See?
Yeah. Oh, you know what?
Open leg ghosts. That's what your family would tell you. See?
That's what my family says, actually. They tease me about that. They're like, well, you guys are living in sin. You would just get married. Yeah.
That'll solve it all. Just get married, guys.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That is incredible. I wonder what it is that it just stops out of nowhere. Like what happened? What shifted? What was it that it just stops?
The only thing that I can remember that happened, oh, you know what? I missed an important part. So I did find the deodorant a year later about.
Where? What do you mean? How do you know?
Well, let me tell you. So when we were going through all of that, we were also fighting and we were losing things constantly. So we were like at each other. We're like, okay, we need to clean the house. We keep losing stuff and it would reappear in like random places. So the deodorant a year later, after all that mess happened, I'm cleaning behind one of my dressers. I'm sweeping, behind, I had tile floor sweeping, and I see the deodorant on the floor with the cap on, but I know it was the deodorant because it was all a mess on the outside of it. And you open it and it's like falling apart on the inside. And it wasn't his deodorant.
Mm-hmm. That's I stick to my assumption. Matthias is the reason why the ghosts are there. You brought them from Austin. You brought them from your tia's house or wherever you were. You brought all the ghosts. But I'm still so curious about why they've chilled out. And what's interesting is I hope you message me after this, because the fact that we're talking about what happened there in your house, I am curious if anything starts up again, because like your Theo was saying, like, just ignore it, don't give it no attention. And I've also heard that from other people as well, that the more you talk about the energy, you conjure it up. And like, I would keep like haunted videos and pictures in my phone and stuff. And then my friend Momo was like, you probably want to delete that because you're carrying energy around. And the more you like talk about it, because it was like my party trick, I'd be like, oh my God, you want to see this haunted video? Look at this. And I would tell people, and it's like, well, the more you talk about it, the more you're conjuring up that energy, because it's energy. So I'm very curious. I hope nothing happens for your guys' house. I hope no more deodorant scandals. I hope no more like pervy ghosts watching y'all get busy. I hope none of that happens for you guys. But if it does, please message me and I would love to bring you back on and we could do a little recap what happened after this episode. And I'm really curious if they're gonna act up.
Well, I'll tell you this, like, I have heard things in our house since then, but I think we kind of follow that same, just ignore it and it'll just go away. And that's pretty much what happens. There hasn't been more to it other than that. I mean, we've heard knocking on the walls from the neighbors that aren't there during the day. Yeah, I mean, just little things like that, you try and explain away, or you just kind of ignore it, just don't pay attention. But yeah, I'll tell you if there's anything else. But other than that, I mean, the only other things that happened, you saw a little girl. She said hi to Matthias, but that's not the first time that's happened to us where ghosts have said hi to us.
We got one for Ryan real quick if you have enough time.
Yeah.
So we're in Phoenix, Arizona. We're at a youth basketball tournament, and I think it was like in Scottsdale or something like that. And we go to a Starbucks, and it's probably right before they close, and it's just me, Araceli, and the barista there. And we're ordering our drinks, and all of a sudden, we just hear the door open, and we hear, hello.
And I look at him, and I'm like, did you hear that? Because he's just ignoring, and he's like.
And we look at the barista, and like, he's like pale white. Like he's,
he saw it too.
He's just like, pale white. And
he heard it.
He's like, oh my God, I heard that too.
Yes.
We're just like, what?
Y'all be traveling with these things.
We take them interstate with them.
Shoot, I rebuke, don't come through my screen. I rebuke it in the name of Jesus. Take my communion. Wow,
yeah.
that's insane. Please message me if you guys hear anything or any of that kind of stuff. That is crazy, and I really hope.
And we'll try to record it.
Thank you. Please do. To the ghosts in your house, this is not an invitation. You are not welcome after this. Please do not show yourself. This was not an invitation. Thank you so much. Have a good night.
Thank you,
you guys, thank you for being here. Love you so much. Message me.
Love you too. Thank you.
And I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye. Okay, we have one last guest, you guys. I know we're running a little bit late, but we have one last guest who has experience over the past 5 years with sleep paralysis and visitations from people who may have died. Please welcome Aria Trueblood. Hey, beauty, where are you calling us from? Oh, wait, can't hear you. We cannot hear you. Can you
hear me?
There you are.
Okay, sorry. I didn't know I had to unmute myself.
There you are. Where are you calling from?
Washington State.
Washington State. Okay.
Yes.
I'm
in the middle of nowhere. I literally just saw the biggest American bald eagle just fly over me. It was amazing.
No way. That's incredible. That's beautiful.
Yeah, they nest. They have a bunch of nests around the town, so it's pretty cool.
Wow, that's beautiful. We definitely don't see many bald eagles in LA. But that's gorgeous. Please tell me about your craziest sleep paralysis situation that you had. Are you there? You're frozen. Uh oh, you're frozen.
Can you see me?
Well,
Oh.
you were frozen, but at least it was on a pretty face. Like you were making a pretty facial expression. So at least there's that. Like you weren't doing
Okay, let me go inside.
yawn.
Can you see me now?
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
perfect. I
No
just
more
went
ball-
inside. No more baldeals for me. But
Tell us
no, I was going to ask you as well if I can share something that's maybe a little inappropriate, not inappropriate, but there's sexual assault
well,
involved.
trigger warning. Is it a ghost? Is
It
I
is
mean-
a ghost.
Okay. Trigger warning for anybody who's listening right now. There is sexual assault content in this story. So if that is something that triggers you or bothers you, feel free to tune out for the next 10 minutes. Continue with the story.
Okay, perfect. So I was living in Philadelphia at the time, and I was living alone in a house. And I was very much depressed during that time. And I believe very strongly that whatever energy you have, your vulnerability can bring in negative spirits or other negative energies. So at the time, I had an accident where I was attempted rape in front of my own house.
Wow.
And luckily, nothing happened. Someone was there to save me, but
Thank God.
I was so depressed afterwards, and I was just traumatized, and I couldn't sleep, and I wasn't eating. And I was taking a nap one day, and I hear someone, and I have my sleep paralysis. I can't get up because I hear someone open the front door.
Oh, no.
And I'm like, he's here, he's gonna hurt me. And I'm trying to move, and I can't because, sleep paralysis.
Wow. Yeah.
And I hear him walk up the stairs, and I know it's a him. Like I can fear not him, the guy, but I feel a male presence. And I hear him walk up down the hallway and open a door. And I'm there lying on my side, and I can only see like his neck to down. I can't see his face because of where I'm positioned at. And he walks towards me. And this is funny in retrospect, but during the time it was very traumatizing.
Yeah.
He pulls down his pants
Oh.
and starts to rape me orally.
Oh.
And I'm gagging and I can't breathe because I feel like my eyes are rolling back in a weird way. And like it's so crazy to say because it's funny but not funny, and he just pulls his pants up when he's done and just walks away. And as soon as I am able to move, I dial 911. They're like, 911, what's your emergency? And I'm like, I don't even know what to say. I think I need someone to come and check to see if there's anybody in my house. Like it felt so real that I called 911. Yeah. Because I knew it wasn't real, but I still was afraid to leave my room in case it was real.
Oh my God.
Because he seemed very much like a real person.
Wow. I am so sorry you experienced that.
Yeah. So the police came, they checked around, and they're like, there's nobody here. I'm like, I know there's nobody here, but I just wanted you to check just in case.
Oh. Uh-oh. We lost you again. Your internet dipped out on us.
Can you hear me?
You are frozen.
I'm sorry, I am.
And you're back
I'm
now.
sorry.
You're back now.
Okay.
We got.
I'm so sorry.
No, that's okay. Let's continue.
And like
Finish
goes
up.
in and out. Okay, yeah. So I have many sleep paralysis experiences, and there's one where I was like in a 3-day in my dream. I was dreaming in my dream 3 days long, if that makes any sense.
Oh yeah.
And I had met a man in the apartment I moved into after that house where I got, that experience, I ended up moving afterwards because I was so traumatized by it.
Yeah.
So I moved into this beautiful mansion in Philadelphia. The landlord was renting out apartments. And I met a pretty house in my dream. And I never asked about it. And I never asked about the history of it. But he came to me and he was very sketchy. He was like, I'll give you a ride home. Just don't tell my wife. And he was riding this beautiful car in the dream, like a race car. And he had this gorgeous suit on. But you can tell that he was like a very, like an asshole, an asshole kind of thing.
He's the owner of
And
this house.
yeah, apparently he was at the time he was wanted for not wanting to serve the war during that time in the US. So because he was drafted and he escaped because he didn't want to serve.
Wow.
And yeah. And he actually, I looked him up because he said his name in the dream. And I looked him up and he was a race car driver. And in my dream, he had this beautiful race car. And I just had many experiences where I would meet people who live wherever I was. Or
Aria, do you feel that you are sensitive to the spirit realm? Like, do you see and hear and feel things when you go places?
yes, for sure. Like, I just got to this place. I'm in an Airbnb and I'm staying here forever.
Wow.
But the first night I got here, I actually heard children running
Did it
down
sound
the room.
like this?
Not as cool. He was just like
excuse to use my sound cues.
you should have been like dun dun dun.
Oh my gosh. So you're in this Airbnb. Have you already felt something in the Airbnb?
Yeah, but it's nothing negative. It's
That's
very positive. And I think that we are so strong as individuals and spirits in general that even our positive energy can be left somewhere. And not all the time, people who experience paranormal, it doesn't always have to be negative. You can have a very much a positive experience that could be also paranormal.
totally
Because I've experienced very happy meetings and things that happen. And I'm like, when you shouldn't feel scared, but sometimes deep down in your gut, like there's something wrong.
Yeah, totally. Well, that is crazy. I am so sorry that you experienced that
Yeah.
sleep paralysis and everything leading up to that sleep paralysis. I am sorry that you had to experience that, but I thank you for coming on the show and sharing your story with us. There's people in the comment section sharing their situations with sleep paralysis that they have had. I've had experience with sleep paralysis and it is no joke. It is scary. I can't imagine like the detail of what you experience in your sleep paralysis, but I have experienced it and it's awful. So thank you for coming and sharing that story with us. I appreciate you.
No problem.
I hope nothing happens to you in this Airbnb. Like no more sleep paralysis. Please leave her alone. Well, thank you so much, Aria. You're amazing. I hope you sleep well in your Airbnb. You guys, thank you for joining us. This episode ran a little long, but we had some really great stories to get to. And I'm so glad you guys are here listening. And if you don't know by now, you can subscribe to the podcast and listen to us on the podcast. You can watch us on YouTube. And yeah, Ghost Stories with Anjelah. If you have a ghost story that you would like to share on the show, go to anjelah.com/ghost stories and submit your story there. And I can pick you to come on and share your your story as well. That's what every guest besides Fortune that we had on tonight submitted their story on my website, anjelah.com/ghost stories. And we pick at random different people to come on and share their personal stories with us. And I love it. So thank you guys so much. I wish you all the best. And until next time, cheers. Bye.
Yeah, I know I'm a problem, but don't be afraid of me. I'm a god, I'm a fallen angel with devilish pedigree. Yeah, we walk the night on the wild side. No, you can't get away from me. Cause the way you move, it's the way you move. Got me feeling the chemistry. The sun goes down and the beast comes out. Yeah, we're the wild, we're the wild, we're the wild ones. You better run, better